Yesterday, I was on a live stream with some well-known Black British podcasters. Shout out to them. I didn't want to really name them, not out of spite, just because I didn't think it was really relevant, but the podcast is called Express Truth, right? And they were talking about, generally speaking, group economics amongst Black Britons in the UK. And so that's what I really want to talk about. I want to express my thoughts on it as someone who's coming up to age 40. So I've been born and raised in the UK, 4 decades deep. So I'd like to think that I know what I'm talking about on this subject. And to get straight to the point, talking about group economics amongst Black Brits is a waste of time, unfortunately. I truly believe that the so-called Black community in the UK is cooked. It is non-existent. And it can never be resuscitated. It can't be revived. And when we talk about group economics, in fact, the thing that triggered this discussion was the fact that they were discussing some sort of incident that happened, and they noted how, Asian people are predominantly now nationwide selling African products to Black people, right? So we're talking about hair weave, creams, hair creams. We are now seeing that Indian, Pakistanis, for example, now dominate this field. Okay, and I've seen this for at least 20 years now. I've seen this happen in my own hometown of Peckham, where we had a Peckham High Street that was literally full of beauty care products shops, beauty shops run by typically Nigerian and Ghanaian people. Now, if you walk in this region today, they're all owned, like literally probably like 95% Asian, right? And I can't fault the Asian. The Asians saw the opportunity. They had the existing group power. They have the family structure to make the move, right? To perform the coup de grace. And now they are dominating this field. Now it's hard to penetrate because now they literally have their own families operating the shops, right? So they don't even have to worry so much about living wages and stuff like that. The expenses, the typical expenses that come out of businesses. Many of them might have living residences above the shop. So it's super convenient. They can open 7 days a week with no stresses on the family or their day-to-day lives. They've completely dominated this field and they run it very well. They run it very competitively. And I think for the fact that, Africans, Asians, we were all colonies of Britain and we all came roughly around the same time. Now, of course, some people were more astute than others, right? I believe like some of the talking points is that some castes or tribes of Indian were much more highly regarded by the Brits. So they elevated them to some extent. They supported them. They gave them information and education, whereas there was probably a bit more discrimination towards some Africans, right? So obviously, all people don't start on the same playing field. Some people have advantages. But at the same time, we all can cater to our own people, meaning we all can make business and we can expect that our people will circulate their income within the business, within the community. And I think right there, it isn't because of some sort of deficiency in education or even intelligence. It's simply that we just don't have the family dynamics. You see, the family is the first business that we have. In the family, you see the organization, you see the leadership, you see the standards, the values, the ethos that we live by. You see this firsthand in the family. But Black Africans, Black Caribbeans, we have the highest single parent rates in the country. Asians typically have the lowest. So whether they're happy marriages or not, on paper, they have a more cohesive family unit where we Black Brits don't. So those Asian kids are seeing business like movements in the home from early. And in many cases, they are inheriting stuff from their parents, stuff that both parents accrued in their lifetime. Typically in the black community, single mother families rely heavily. I'm not saying that Asians don't rely on government benefits, right? Of course they do, but we rely heavily on it to a level where it's more about being on survival mode. Single parent families typically don't have any inheritance to hand down, let alone businesses, right? So it's because, in my opinion, because of this family dynamic, because of this, the broken homes, the lack of strategy, the lack of long-term planning and thinking, future-proofing the so-called community, group economics is a wrap for black Brits in the UK. And I hate to say it, I know I probably sound nihilistic, and I don't take pleasure in saying it, to be honest, but it's just the truth. And the real killing blow will come in the form of machine learning and AI, machines, robots. Because all these other industries that we could have taken a grasp on, we could have spearheaded, are now at risk of being automated now. This wasn't like in the 60s or 70s or 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s. You could still break through, do some brick and mortar business, and depending on how you run it, it could be a success in the UK. I'm thinking of people like Levi Roots, the man who appeared on A Dragon's Den, got a successful pitch, got the investment, opened up a shop in Stratford. I remember going there. He was, I took my old missus on a date there, and he was there greeting us, Levi Roots. But now that shop is closed down. That shop is closed down while the ton of Indian curry shops multiply. Just think about that. You see, in the case of Levi Roots, he relied on quote-unquote foreign investment to get his thing running. The typical Indian shop rely on Asian investment. Now, obviously, I know Brits love their curry and they go in to sponsor these businesses. But typically, especially when it's quite small, it's in-house operations, right? Word of mouth. Going back to the family, there is a rigid caste systems in a lot of these communities, which typically allows for arranged marriages or prioritizes arranged marriages because they want to, they believe in their caste system. I'm not here to judge their system. In fact, if it works, it's probably something to think about. But regardless, I just think at this point in time, it's a wrap. It's too late. It's too late. These were, talking about group economics in 2025 is something that should have been happening in like 1975. These are foundational talking points, foundational discussions. This is something that our parents should have been in on. And again, I don't take pleasure in this. It's bleak. But that's just the truth. Now, I'm thinking of some typical rebuttals to this, and the biggest rebuttal that I think is pretty much mainstream is the idea that, it's black men are weak. In fact, it's funny, when I was in that live stream, it's funny, I was speaking to a woman in the chat, and I know this woman quite well in the comments because she has a certain opinion of black men. I'm assuming she's a black woman. Right, well, she was talking, comments, trying to be fair and balanced. But this discussion with her always comes back to blaming men. So at some point she said, black men are weak. And then I countered that by saying, well, if that's true, then why do certain black women deal with these type of black men and have babies by them? And I mentioned this, and another woman just said, there's another problem in the black community is misogynoir. I can't even say the word. Misogynoir. Right? After a woman said, black men are weak, they just focus on some sort of misogyny coming from black men. That's part of the problem. Again, going back to the strategy and the family planning, we have a lot of bastard kids. From what I remember, it's about 50% of black people, black human beings in this country are raised in a single parent household. That means struggle. That means not seeing a cohesive unit. That means seeing emotional tantrums and not getting enough attention, right? That means risk. That means, different adults are coming into the house who are not related to you, and that could mean trauma. That could mean abuse. It's weird. It's wrong. It's not right. This is what a lot of black kids experience. But I think I just think it's pointless doing the whole gender blame game thing. I think it is what it is. Yes, perhaps the wrong types of black men got the opportunity to procreate, and now we're dealing with the mess. We're dealing with things like that Leicester incident where black boys were whipping with belts other black boys at university. And I can make a wild assumption that both of these boys were both raised in a single mother household. Both the violent one and the docile one. And that's all just a sum total of a broken home, broken household. So when we got kids doing egregious things to other black kids, how can we talk about group economics? How? The reality is that I'm not even sure that people actually think about this, but the reality is we were never a united bunch. I don't even know what, like the term black people assume that we are a unit. We are not. We've never been. The Nigerian is Hausa or Igbo or Yoruba. There is no true Nigerian. We're super tribal. We have our own individual customs and culture and languages. We've never been a unit. And to unify cultures, it always has to be an indigenous process, right? This is a process that many peoples have gone through. The English, the Japanese, the Scandinavians. Has to be an indigenous process where you understand the power of unifying. You understand that there's strength in numbers, one culture, one language, one religion. We haven't had that revolution. Something like 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria, 500 languages. What unity are we talking about? It's damn near impossible. There's always going to be strife. Again, we didn't have that revolution. So now we emigrate to foreign countries. Are we surprised that we have no unity in these countries? We didn't have it back home. This is why I've always scoffed at the idea of Pan-Africanism. You people that are pro-Pan-Africanist, like you are believing in a failed experiment that has failed for over a century now, if my math is right, with Marcus Garvey. You're believing in a pipe dream. Africa, I'm guessing, I don't even know fully, but I'm sure Africa has the most countries as a continent than any other continent. Please fact check me if I'm wrong. And then within these countries, it's splintered by tribal identification, ethnic group. So what unity are we talking about? We have to be real and honest here. And so now I'm going to present you with two, some will say black pill options that black people have in the UK for success. These are the two ways that you can stay afloat and succeed in the UK today. Okay, bear with me. The first option is to emigrate back to your country of origin, where your parents came from, within Africa or within the Caribbean. The last option, and I know some of you are going to hate this, but it's the real talk. The last option is to go interracial. Yeah. The last option is to intertwine with another culture. Yes. These, for the so-called Black Brits, these are only two options. Trying to create some sort of Black British identity is a failed mission. And it kind of upsets me. I don't really go into many live streams these days, but the reason why I was into this live stream, this was a long-ass live stream, was that I'm always looking or ready to hear other people's so-called solutions, but it's always the same thing. Oh, we got to come together. We got to put money in our businesses. We got to not shop at other people's businesses. We need to boycott the Asian business. This is all too little too late. Like, am I insane? Like, I've been hearing this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. This is all too little too late. Pretty soon, all of these shops, just like your Tesco or Sainsbury's, are going to start being, you're going to start having self-checkout. There's going to be less staff, less opportunities for these businesses. You know, especially retail. It's going to, the AI and the robots are going to have a field day in these sectors. These businesses don't want to deal with you coming late or having sick days or, you know, not being reliable, being lazy in the back stock room. No, why? They can just use machines that will work all day like a slave. And that's what it comes down to. When it comes to AI, that's what it comes down to. You see, the reason why the United States of America is the greatest superpower of all time on this planet is because it relied upon centuries of free labor. Centuries of importing people to do jobs that usually you would compensate them for. America was built on slaves, and look at America today, the bully of the world. No one can say anything to America. Not even Russia. Trust me, Russia is nowhere near America's might. And so for, you know, businesses and nations to have this opportunity to grow, yes, they're going to go with AI. Forget the human resources. I mean, they will give us a, you know, they might just be happy with giving us a wage without any work. Just, you know, here's your 2K, your living wage. You don't have to come to work, don't worry. 2K a month, that's cool. But we're going to use AI machines. And I think a lot of people will accept that. Okay, cool. But in accepting that, you're just going to deny yourself of any ambition. You're never going to be a millionaire. You're never going to be, you know, like the Amazon guy or the eBay guy or the Facebook guy. You're just going to be the sheep. You're going to grow fat. You're going to own nothing. You're going to live in cubicles, but you're going to be happy somehow. But the machines will do all the slave work. The machines will be your caretakers. And the wealthy will just get wealthy. The corporations will just get more powerful. In fact, boy, the corporations will probably become their own nation states. The corporations probably have their own armies. That's where it's going. And that's why it's very much too little too late for this black economic talk here in the UK. And even back in Africa, in my opinion, Africa is unstable as hell. And the projected growth of many African countries is overwhelming and alarming. They already have, you know, strife when it comes to harsh resources. Now, when the population booms and explodes, what do you think is going to happen in some of these countries? Do you think everything's just going to work out fine in the end, happy ending? No, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed coming. There's going to be a lot of war. A lot of people want to be independent, just like what's happening in Sudan. I won't be surprised if there's now going to be a West Sudan and a East or North Sudan, just like there is South Sudan. This is the process, the true process that had to happen in the post-colonial era. So, I mean, again, I'm not trying to be nihilistic, but it's just looking bleak, however way you want to see it. Time is running out, and for many of us in the UK, time has run out. When it comes to the solutions, the only solution lies in our kids and in the unborn, putting them into the tech field, into AI engineering, cloud engineering, cybersecurity, logical fields, mathematically based fields. We're not talking music production, media, sports science. We're not talking about these creative roles. We need math, logic, science. That's really the only way for the future at this point. And again, going back to Indians, a lot of them are running the tech space. A lot of these startups, a lot of these millionaires, billionaires, Indian. So even with this now, we seem to be getting a bit too late. And that's why the future is bleak. It's like the chorus is too little, too late. What are we doing? What have we done? I talk about, it seems like black people just want to go out and party and want to stunt and want to look good, get their hair done, nails done, top fashion brands. I've never ever seen a black person here in Britain without Nike trainers, Adidas trainers. You never see a black person with something a bit more low key, like, I don't know, New Balance or something, Asics. It's always the high priced, £130 Air Max TNs, like Boost, Air Bubble, like whatever. When I raise these points, I get backlash like, oh, you're just generalizing, oh, these are extreme stereotypes. But hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. We're just buying shit. We're just buying shit, bro. We're not building anything. We're not investing in anything. We have no industry that are key to us that we offer to the nation. We don't have post office. We don't have petrol stations. We don't have news agents anymore. What are we doing? Barely have restaurants. And when we have restaurants, they're not really catering towards the wider society. We haven't really crossed that gap. English boy from Chelsea isn't going to be eating pounded yam with his hand, licking his fingers like a Nigerian. But all this thinking and ideas that we should have been drafting up and bringing to the table and brainstorming, it's just not there. We've been wasting time. Again, we've been stunting. We've been leasing Range Rovers and Mercedes-Benz to look good. I know black people who are highly intelligent, have very good jobs, but they haven't built anything. They just stunt. Highly intelligent software engineers, like work in the biggest banks, did so much, but haven't built anything. In fact, they joke about the fact that, they finish at 3 p.m. They work from home most of the time. Like they brag about doing the least, like as if they've arrived. That's all they've needed to do. This is our mentality. It's not thinking about the future. It's not thinking about the next generation. It's just thinking about ourselves here and now. Very self-serving, very self-destructive. Traveling, party, go fashion, go and spend money to try to look good. It's all low self-esteem. And again, this begins back at home. This begins back at home, back in childhood. You can't mend this. You can't. This is why I don't really want to talk about this subject anymore. You notice that I used to go heavy on this, live streams, panels, but it's a waste of time. It's pointless. We arrive in the same junction. Yes, self-improvement is good, but is a 35-year-old person really gonna do the work at that point? Are they not stuck in their ways? Are they really gonna change their diet and overwhelm their lifestyle? How many years left do they have of life? What? Probably under 35 years left. What is their brain health like? What is their physical health like? What is their mental health like? Can they summon the power to change? I don't think so, bro. And again, I'm not a nihilist. I'm a quite positive person. I'm a hopeful person. But as we get older, we should be realizing that it's not looking good. And I don't blame all of you guys. Like I've mentioned many times before, and this is another sore point for many people, is that I blame our forebears. I blame the previous generation. Because again, the groundwork, they should have been doing this. Many people come to this country, they come here with false documents. They come here with duplicate names. They come here on a scam thing. And they don't scam because they have some great future plan for their kids and generation. They scam so they can get away from the hard life back in Africa, back in the Caribbean. They scam so they can have time off here and they can put their feet up, they can chill, even though they're cleaning toilets and they're doing subordinate jobs. They think, oh, it's still better than back home. Just waste their life on Guinness and partying every week. Look, it's not a wild stereotype, it's the truth. Our people just want to party, and that's what they've been doing. I hate to break it to you. I'm just an honest person. It's the truth. That's what we are seeing. There was no focus on building strong, healthy families and a strong community in this country. It was just time out and chill. Like, I've grown up. I've been to so many parties as a kid. I've seen parents who claim that they were struggling month to month. Oh, the bills, the rent. But when it comes to these parties, somehow, some way, they bring out this great gold jewelry, big thick gold jewelry, pendants, earrings, all these fabrics, designer fabrics, bags, shoes. Everything is on point. And even in the party is massive. They've hired out some big hall. They've got all this catering. Like, this is serious. But you said you were broke. But how have you amassed all this money? From where? Maybe you've just borrowed it, but then you've borrowed money for a party, but you don't borrow money for your kids' education, for your kids' future. Kids dressed in rags and hand-me-downs and faded out clothes, small shoes, wearing fake shoes from the market. Kids got bunions because they were wearing shoes that were smaller than their feet, holes in their shoes. But when it comes to party, you've got the tools and the materials to have a good time. This is the sickness in our community. And this is why it relays into group economics. And this is why it's goofy to try and talk about to try and talk this serious talk when we've been on fun times. We've been playing around. This is serious now. I see it on the streets. Walk out on the streets. Typically it's this: black men walking by themselves alone. Black women walking with 2-3 kids, shopping or whatever. Like, the family is fractured. And at this point, I'm just look, you need to do good for yourself. You need to survive. I don't care who you can go marry a Chinese man. I don't care. At this point, every black person needs to do what they can to survive and to have a healthy esteem, a somewhat of a comfortable life where they can have somewhat of a comfortable future and elderly life. Because as you know, those of us who are millennials, as we approach our 50s, how many years left do we really have? You know? What is our elderly life going to look like? Because if we haven't amassed anything now, look, a lot of people don't even want to think about post 60 years old. Because it's just so dark, especially in this age where people don't really have kids, don't have families like that, don't trust anybody. It's a low trust society. Traditionally, you would have kids who would, you know, they're not forced to look after you, but they want to look after you where they can, or at least give you company, not put you in the hands of some strange foreign person who don't give a damn about you, wheeling you in a pushchair. You've probably soiled yourself. They know you've soiled yourself, and they've just left you there just like that. This is the bleak future. And this is all because of a failed family, no group economics. So like I said, the only solution, go back to your parents' countries or go interracial. At least, you have some sort of semblance of a cohesive family. If you have kids in these families, at least they can see that. And maybe they have, they can be given the tools to, create businesses and offer something to the society at large. But the Black British experiment has failed. Prove me wrong. Tell me any different. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the chat below. But you need to come with proof and evidence. Do you have your own home? Have you or do you have a business that has been successful? Do you have a degree? Do you work in STEM fields? I'm not talking about no sports science degree. I'm not talking about doing some random tit-for-tat job that doesn't have a future, that a machine can do it at a far better quality than you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about engineering and architecture. Because this is where it begins. It begins in education. It begins in cultivating learning and education. So yeah, I just wanted to put this out there because it's a very serious topic that, again, when you look at most black podcasts, what are they talking about? What are black podcasts, live streamers, YouTubers, what are they talking about? They're talking about dating. They're talking about dating. They're talking about, oh, she's an 8, she's a 9, she's a 10 out of 10. Oh, what are the red flags? They talk like, these are men that are beyond 30 years old, bruh. These are men that are soon going to be 40, if they don't already, they're going to be having grey hairs coming out of themselves. They're going to be in their decline, but they're still at the point of talking about dating. Dating? Sleeping around? Bro, you should have been done with that like 10 years ago, a decade ago. This is what I mean by the stages of life. If you're still doing what you were doing 10 years ago, it's a big sign that you failed in life. You're failing and you're coping. What? Talking about dating when you should have been a parent by now. You should be talking about school catchment areas and school uniforms. It's crazy. A lot of us are like cursed with this infantile mindset. A lot of fear, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just crazy to see. But I do know one thing, it is a big sign that our parents let us down. Our parents didn't know what the hell they were doing. Our parents did not give any sort of support that was meaningful. Bless these single mothers. Yeah, bless these single mothers. We like to go hard on the single mother, but I mean, I'm not expecting a single mother to be able to tell you how to fix your life, especially if you're a man. I'm not expecting a single mother to tell you, oh yeah, you better go into business, you better go into this industry. No, with all respect, what does a single mother know who is stressing around, who doesn't have time for herself? It's usually the father, the patriarch, who will teach you about these things, about industry, business, trade, being good with money, delayed gratification. It's not a man. A man doesn't have 10 different types of bags and 20 types of shoes and all these things that he doesn't need. A man typically is not emotionally inclined like that. And this is the real stuff that keeps people stable, keeps communities stable and strong. You're not just spending and expelling your hard-earned money on frivolous things. So this is why I say I don't blame most of you people. Most of you people listen to me, millennials, Gen Z, but you were probably failed by your predecessors. And I don't even want to hear about colonialism, racism. No, I don't want to hear about that because this affected the Asian people too. That's another thing about deferring accountability. And this is why, personally speaking, I know I was speaking to a woman in the live stream. Personally speaking, I don't want to talk to women. Outside of my own missus, I don't really want to talk to women about anything of this nature. You know, it's funny that, again, the woman in the live stream said, men build, men are providers, right? And I can accept that. But if men are building here, why are you here? You know, just imagine us men are building a shed in the garden. Why are the women here? We carry the loads. We have the strength to hammer the nails in. So what are you women doing here? Are you overseeing us? Are you our masters? Why don't you go back and do what you're supposed to be doing? And this is the dilemma with the family part of this equation. We don't know our roles and we are confused. And a lot of people have been confused and bamboozled by feminism and feminist talking points. Because the same woman I was talking with can say, oh, men are supposed to go and build, but then they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. You know, the same woman saying men are supposed to be providers and go and build, if you were to say women should be nurturers and carers of the home, they would call you misogynist. You know, that's how confused our people are. And this is why it's pointless trying to provide solutions to these people, to adults, because they're all far removed. They're gone. Literally, they're gone. You can't save them. You know, you can't save a single mother with 2-3 kids with 2-3 different baby fathers. You can't. There's literally nothing you can do. There is no form of self-improvement that's going to improve that situation. And arguably, there is no prayer, there is no God that can help that situation. You're just going to have to hope for the best. Some people will make it, but many more will suffer abuses and trauma. And this is where we are in 2025. This is the result. Many family members don't get along. Many families are dysfunctional because of stuff like this. Broken homes. You know, but hey, as I record this, I'm seeing my Sainsbury's delivery outside of the window. So I know this has been a rant, but I think this is good. I needed to express this somewhere. I'm not going to edit it that much. I hope you found some sort of coherence with what I'm saying, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, this is just my opinions. This is why I don't really like, or I'm inspired to talk about this discussion, solutions, Black British topics. I just think it's done. You need to go and save yourself. There is no one solution, or there are no solutions in the traditional sense. In a sense, oh, black economics, or we can all work. No, we have shown time and time again that we can't work together. How about that? We can't work together. And it's not a racial thing, it's a cultural thing. We are all too different culturally. We are too splintered as a people. We are not one people. We are not like black Americans they have a fighting chance in doing this black unity thing, but we don't. We come from different islands and different nations, different environments, different religions. You know, we need to think. We need to be very cerebral about this. This requires a thought. And once you have a certain understanding, you realize that it can't be saved. It can't be helped. So either, you go back to your parents' country of origin, or you go interracial. You marry into another culture. Something like that. But the typical, we can work together, it's not going to work, bro. It's not going to work. And I really want you to prove me wrong. Please do prove me wrong. But after 40 years of life, I can tell you, bro, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. But with that being said, peace. Hopefully I'll catch you next one. Check out the Discord. This is where this discussion was born. So come and be involved in the Discord and the greater discussion. But until then, peace.